Assalamu alaikum. According to the Torah, the punishment for murder is execution, but the rabbis in the Talmud made many exceptions and let many murderers get away without being executed for their crimes. So let's get into that. We'll start with Sanhedrin 76b. If one pushed another into the water or into the fire, and that person could have extricated himself from there but failed to do so, and he died, the one who pushed him is exempt from punishment by a court, as he caused the death but did not actually kill the victim. Extricated, what does that mean? So it means free yourself, from a very difficult constraint or a difficult situation. So if you had the ability, or it was possible, you could have, but didn't, even if someone threw you into fire and you died, no execution for you. For the same reason, if one set a dog against another and the dog killed him, or if one set a snake against another and the snake killed him, the one who said the dog or the snake is exempt from punishment. So imagine I sent a bunch of dogs against you, yeah, or a bunch of snakes. What do you think is going to happen? It's very likely the person is going to die, but according to the rabbis, no punishment. Gets even worse. If he embedded the snake's fangs into another and caused the snake to bite him and kill him, Rabbi Yehuda deems him liable to be executed, as he is a murderer, and the rabbis exempt him, as they maintain that he indirectly caused the individual's death. So even if you get a snake, and you put his fangs into someone else's skin, and you cause that snake to bite that person and kill him, even then, you get no punishment. Now, I know that it says Rabbi Yehuda disagreed, so that's one rabbi who disagreed, right? He said that he is liable, but you see at the bottom here, and the rabbis exempt him, which means the majority of the rabbis decided, actually, he is exempt, he gets no punishment. And according to Judaism, the majority of the rabbis decide the law. Just for example, we have this story in the Talmud where essentially, the story is, the majority of rabbis agree on something, and one rabbi disagrees. Then even God says that this one rabbi is correct, but then the rabbis say, we do not regard a divine voice, which means even what you say, God, doesn't matter, as you already wrote at Mount Sinai in the Torah after a majority to incline. Which means since the majority of rabbis disagreed with Rabbi Eliezer opinion, the halakha is not ruled in accordance with his opinion, and then at the end God concedes this and he says, my children have triumphed over me, my children have triumphed over me. So this is actually the taking Exodus 23:2 completely out of context, but we'll make another video on that. For now, it's important to know that the majority of rabbis decide something, and here the majority of rabbis decided that he is exempt. Okay? Sanhedrin 78a, according to the statement of the rabbis, venom of a snake is discharged by the snake itself. The snake directly causes the death, while the individual who embeds the fang is merely an indirect cause. Consequently, the snake is executed by stoning, and the one who caused the snake to bite is exempt from execution. What is this? Sanhedrin 77a, if one bound another and he died of starvation. What does bound mean? So to bind means, in this case, to tie or fasten someone. So you essentially, tie someone up. And so binds past tense is bound, right? So here they're saying he bound someone. So if you tie someone up and he dies of starvation, you're exempt. So he is exempt from the liability to receive a court-imposed death penalty, as it was not his action that caused the death of the victim, even if the victim was hungry when he was bound to starvation that caused his death ensued at a later stage. What is this? The one who bound him is liable to be punished by the heavenly court. So that's what they say here. Of course, that's not in bold, which means it's not actually what the Talmud says. That's just their commentary that he's supposed to be punished by the heavenly court. Even if that is the case, that doesn't matter. You're just still letting murderers get away with their murders and get no execution. You're playing around and changing the obvious Torah law, which is execution, and a society where you can do these things, murder whoever you want like this, and you get no execution. It's problematic. And Rava says, if one bound another in the sun and he died of the heat, or in a cold place and he died of exposure, he is liable to be executed. But if one bound another in a place that at that time was not exposed to the sun or the cold, even though ultimately the sun would arrive at that place, or ultimately the cold would reach that place, he is exempt from execution. Okay? As when he bound the victim, the future cause of death was not present. Next up, if one bound another before a lion. So if you tie someone up in front of a lion, you're exempt from execution. He is exempt from execution since perhaps the lion will choose not to prey on the victim. It was not his action that caused the damage. Okay, Allah says, وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا النَّفْسَ الَّتِي حَرَّمَ اللَّهُ إِلَّا بِالْحَقِّ ومن قتل مظلوما فقد جعلنا لوليه سلطانا فلا يسرف في القتل إنه كان منصورا. And do not kill a person whom Allah has given sanctity except for a just reason. And whoever is killed unjustly, we have given his legal here authority, but he shall not cross the limit in the matter of taking life. He is surely supported. Okay, so you have your legal retribution, but you don't go to extremes in terms of your punishment. That you're not supposed to do more than the wrong that's been done to you. But of course, that's what Allah says. But you see how perfect the Quranic law is. But when we go to the Talmudic law, they're essentially allowing murders without any execution and playing around with this penalty of execution. It sort of reminds me of the story of the Sabbath, where the Jews, some of them who were, on Saturday, which was the day of the Sabbath, right, the fish would come out, and the other days, the fish would not come out. So these fishermen, what they did on Friday nights, they actually put the nets so that on Saturday, when the fishes would come, they would get caught in the nets, and then on Sunday, after the Sabbath was over, they would collect the fishes in the nets, right? And they thought they were deceiving God by doing this, right? Because the whole idea is you were not allowed to fish on Saturday. So they thought they were deceiving God, and this is very similar, where essentially you're murdering, and you're just playing around with these penalties and saying, oh no, it's not actually murder and this and that. It's foolish.